Hi everyone, this week on ANN News Kids, we'll be talking about the Israel civilian disaster, Sweden treasures found on the forest floor, Oscar Academy Awards 2021, and the Australia-India travel ban. The country of the week is Turkey, which we'll be doing in French as usual. And the extra fun segment is all about Labor Day. We'll be talking to Alexandre Karkour in the Peer at Your Career segment. He does corporate finance and lives in Lebanon, but travels to many countries. Hope you enjoy, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment below for any ideas you have to improve our YouTube channel. On Friday, 30th of April, Israel experienced its worst civilian disasters ever. Near Mount Meron, the Lag Bomer festival, at least 45 people died in a civilian crash. At least 150 people were also injured, and survivors described it as people being thrown in the air and human pyramids with people who kept on piling on top of each other. The Prime Minister even visited the scene and made a speech. It was overcrowded, and many mourned for the people who had lost their lives. This disaster happened as a crowd of people were trying to get through a tiny passage. A few fell, and after that, many kept piling on top of each other, leading to a few deaths and several injuries. A Swedish mapmaker, Thomas Carlson, found Bronze Age artifacts while surveying a forest in Sweden. These artifacts are 2,500 years old, and they were found beside rocks on the forest floor. They are extremely well preserved, and some of these were found in Denmark, which is a neighboring country, but never in Sweden. Historians say that this was used as jewelry for higher class people and later offered to gods, thus left on the forest floor. This week on 26 April, there was the 93rd Oscar Academy Awards, which honors the best films of 2020 and early 2021. It was done in person, but it was postponed from February to April. Nomadland, a film, won 3 Academy Awards, which was the most this time. It was directed by Chloe Zhao, a Chinese director who won the Best Director Award. This time was the least viewed Academy Award telecast recording in USA. There were only 10 million views, but probably because of the pandemic. Australian citizens are not allowed to return from India due to the rise of COVID-19 cases and deaths over there. Cases are rising rapidly in India, and hospitals are also full, especially in its capital, New Delhi. Australian citizens are not allowed to come, and consequences are up to $66,000 of a fine or 5-year jail. Australia banned every single flight to and from India, and Australian citizens who were there within 14 days of their arrival are facing consequences.
I'm ready.
Okay, great. So, could you start by introducing yourself, please?
Again, my name is Alexandre Ziad Karkour. I'm Lebanese, and I'm also French because I lived also in France. I grew up between Lebanon, Paris, and London. I'm a father of 3, so I have Matteo, who's 15, Chiara, who is 13, and Stefano, who is 8. I'm a keen sports aficionado, so I do a lot of cycling, swimming, running, skiing, because we ski a lot in Lebanon, hiking as well. And I love nature and environment.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Could you explain your career?
Yeah. So I grew up professionally, as I said, between mainly Paris and London, where I lived 16 years before coming back to Beirut. So I am in corporate finance. Corporate finance is a bit like another friend of us does, which is helping companies in their life, in their growth, in the way they grow, in the way they change. So usually a company, when it grows, it needs finance. It needs also to enter new markets. It needs to ally with other companies.
Yes.
It needs to diversify in other businesses in order to stay alive. Okay, so we're like doctors or coaches or mentors to companies, helping them in the way they blossom, in the way they evolve. So this is what I do in my role of advisory role of corporate finance. Okay.
Thank you so much. And how did you get into this?
Well, I started obviously working for big companies out of London. So what we call blue chip companies, which is companies that have maybe 100,000 employees and and billions of dollars of revenues. And the first company I worked for was GlaxoSmithKline, which is a pharmaceutical giant. So I worked for them in London, but always all the roles I had were very international. So I was based somewhere, but I used to travel a lot. And this made me travel to more than 110 countries today. Obviously, some for pleasure, other for business. But I loved actually to go and encounter new cultures. And this is how also I got to know Mauritius, because I was thirsty to enter Africa. And I thought that Mauritius would be a beautiful platform to cater for Africa. So I must have visited your countries maybe 30 or 40 times. So I started by serving or catering for big companies. Because after GlaxoSmithKline, I worked for a company owned by MasterCard and big banks in the city of London. And then I decided that I would like to be independent and to create my own practice. And this is when I started in London my own practice, serving companies that need help into their growth strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your favorite country that you visited?
Listen, when you visit a lot of countries, you can't pick only one
they're also different
from those countries, because they are different and each one is charming in its own way. For example, I traveled, as I told you, a lot. So from South Africa to Iceland, and from Brazil to Australia. If we go on horizontal, so Australia, for example, is an amazing place, but it's so far because you need to fly for 24 hours before getting there. Maybe it's closer to you, but if you're taking it from Europe, it's quite far. Mauritius is blessed as well, but I like also closer countries to me, like Greece, for example, and the island, the Greek islands, or Iceland was amazing in its own way, because the nature there is totally different to what we're used to see. But also a country that not many people know, and that is really, and that I discovered more and more during the pandemic, although it is my country, is Lebanon, because of those, forest and sea and nature that is amazing, and the four seasons, because here we have really the four seasons. So the winter is really cold and we have snow. Then you have a nice spring, which we're living now, where the green, you have 50 shades of green everywhere, and the flowers are blossoming all over. And then you have the summer, where people tend to go higher in the mountains in order to have a better temperature, or milder temperature. And then obviously the charm of the fall. So just to say that the world is an amazing, if you want, place to discover. And you have to, if I have to tell you something, is that whenever you have the chance and the opportunity, you have to travel as much as you can, to discover as much as you can, because this is the most enriching experience you can have.
Thank you. And what else do you like about your job other than traveling?
Encountering people from different culture, because I don't like to stay in the office all the way and doing repetitive tasks. And because after a year or two, you would feel that, okay, you've done it all and you've turned. So the fact of in my job, we're encountering new business cases every time. We're not in one industry. This is what's really amazing. It's one day you're speaking agriculture, the other day you're speaking maybe sports industry, the third day you're speaking hospitality, which is hotels, and as you know, because your first interview was like hotels and travel, and the day after you're speaking, for example, heavy industry. So it is extremely intellectually challenging because you're encountering new people, bright people, you're learning from them, and you're trying to help them. So it's always refreshing, and it's very colorful geographically. So it is colorful geographically because you go from a place to another, but it's also very diverse in terms of business cases you're seeing, in terms of industries you're seeing, in terms of challenges you're helping to face. So you're never bored. This is what if I tell you, in a business like this, like in advisory roles, usually, typically you're facing new cases, maybe 5-6 cases a year. Each one has its own particular intricacies and that you have to try to solve. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And yeah. And finally, what is your advice to kids?
What is my, sorry?
What is your advice to kids other than traveling the world when they have an opportunity?
Well, traveling is an important one, and staying as open as possible, not to confine yourself in any single culture or any single, and also friendship. Try to grow your friendships everywhere, and to be. There is Togo that is intervening in our interview. This is Togo here. I don't know if we should show him, but he stepped in. So stop. So yes, people is very important. Cultures, okay. In even in Mauritius, you have many cultures. Like in Lebanon, we are a country with 17 religions, and in Mauritius also you have this diversity between the Chinese and the Hindus and the French and the Europeans and the Muslims, etc. This is very important to be open to those cultures and to be tolerant.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, those are really important pieces of advice.
I really wish you the best because your program is really important for the youth and for all the people around you, and it deserves all the success it will get. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
La Turquie est un pays situé en Europe du Sud-Est et en Asie occidentale. Sa capitale est Ankara et sa population est de 82 millions d'habitants. Istanbul s'étend sur 2 continents et c'est une ville en Turquie. En Turquie, il y a plus que 30 langues parlées. Et le Grand Bazar, qui est l'un des plus vieux centres commerciaux du monde et l'un des plus grands centres commerciaux du monde, était là depuis 1455. Il y a plus que 3000 magasins dans le Grand Bazar. Il y a 13 endroits de l'UNESCO en Turquie et les historiens pensent que les nombreux systèmes agricoles s'originent de Turquie. C'est l'un des pays rares qui sont autosuffisants du monde. Il y a plus que 130 montagnes qui sont plus hauts que 3000 mètres. Et Père Noël était né en Patara en 300 après Jésus-Christ. International Workers' Day, which is also known as Labor Day or May Day, is celebrated every year on May 1st. This year it's a Saturday. It has a long and varied history and festivities and events such as welcoming of spring in the Northern Hemisphere. It's celebrated because in the 19th century, in 1889, due to the Industrial Revolution in USA, many people were working long work hours and the condition was really bad. And so, on this day, they changed it to an 8-hour workday, decreasing the work hours. It's an official holiday in 66 countries and many more countries celebrate it as an unofficial holiday.